safety office are doing their part to keep roads safe. Do your part to make sure everyone makes it home safe for the holidays.
Thank you for calling Michigan Tech Support. For stolen signs, press 1. For mysteriously dropped headset communications, press 2. For a cheating scandal that Michigan hasn't been caught for yet, press 3. You know what? Please hold. The Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio.
And just like that, it is a Monday. Welcome in, everybody. The Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun food, sports, and spirits. It's a slow sports cycle today. Not a whole lot going on. Figure we'll talk about some rugby. Maybe there's some soccer news out there. Not really. I mean, maybe if you follow soccer. I don't, so I don't have any soccer news for you. But I hope everyone had a great weekend. Weekend went by fast, but that's just because there's so much going on. The college football playoff rankings, it's not just that they're out. It's the final college football playoff rankings. And there's some people who are upset. There's some fan bases who are upset. Look, I've said for the longest time when it comes to the college football playoffs, I want chaos. I don't like when stuff is like, you know how it's already going to shake out. Like, there was a lot of surprises yesterday. Some of them were anticipated surprises, or at least anticipated surprises. But overall, that's what I want from the college football playoff. If you think yesterday, I see so many people saying that it's broken, the system is broken. The system was never set up to not be broken. For every fan base out there that's pissed off and complaining, that's what they want. Jason Fitz, who is a regular on the show throughout football season, he said when he was on, so when he worked at ESPN, they did the mock trial, or not the mock trial, but a mock rankings, and they got to sit in with those people to kind of learn how they put this thing together. And the one thing that they were adamant about is they liked the chaos, right or wrong. There's an entertainment element to this, and that's what we got. But I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show. But before the Justin Kinner Show, it was actually called the Kinner and Kev Show. And I guess we could bring on the guy that finally found time for us. Oh, look at that. The playoff rankings come out, and look who all of a sudden has time for us common folk. Kev, welcome, sir.
What up, though, man? What's going on?
Oh, you Shador?
No.
Is that what that was?
That's the Shador. He played good yesterday, by the way. Still lost, but he played good.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've heard that if you have a really, really good quarterback, that results don't matter. That's the Bengals approach. Who cares if we win or lose? We got Joe Burrow. Well, who cares that we lost? We got
so are the Chiefs.
Shador.
Chiefs 6-7.
Yeah, the playoffs.
Ravens 6-7.
The playoffs might be no Lamar, no Burrow, no Patrick Mahomes, but Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers might be there.
Hey, I mean, I know we're about to talk college football, but I mean, since you brought it up, I mean, if that is the case, if there is no Chiefs and no Ravens and no Bengals without the, arguably the top 3 quarterbacks in the league, Josh Allen, hello, this is your time, buddy.
Yeah, it's actually more dangerous for you than you get knocked. There's no shame in getting knocked out by Patrick Mahomes or a Burrow or whatever. But man, you get knocked out by, there's Trevor Lawrence. Who knows? But
right,
we'll get to the NFL coming up in a moment. The rankings came out yesterday. There's always something to complain about. There's always chaos. There's always this, that, and the other. We're going to open up with the playoff reaction, with the playoff rankings reaction, of course, for those watching on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page and ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel. There you go. Bam. There's the final 12-team college football playoff bracket. We know Ohio State, they got the 2 seed, even after losing to Indiana. We'll get into the Ohio State-Indiana matchup in a moment, or the result of that. In a moment. But here's what we do know about Ohio State. Even with the loss to Indiana, briefly, with some of the surprises that came out, I was surprised they only moved them down to 2. I thought for sure Georgia would be 2 and Ohio State 3, but I mean, as long as they got the bye, that's all I cared about. But they did get the 2 seed, okay? And they will sit there and they will await the winner between the 7 and the 10, which is Texas A&M and Miami. We could see Ohio State versus an SEC Texas A&M team in the quarterfinal round, or a rematch of the 2001 college football national championship game, which was a doozy, which was a long time ago. But that's what's at stake here. Indiana gets the 1 seed. They'll face the winner between Alabama and Oklahoma. I know you're, go Sooners.
Boomer Sooner.
Tulane, Ole Miss will face, the winner of that will face Georgia, and then Texas Tech, the 4th seed, will face the winner of JMU and Oregon. So that's how it kind of shook out a bit. And this is how I know it's a good playoff field, because there's more people pissed about who didn't make it. The talk is more about who didn't make it than who made it. And I love that. I love that chaos. You not so much because you've been on the wrong side of this, being a Florida State fan years ago. But I'm just saying, I don't. There's not enough seats for everybody, and there was a lot of teams who were capable of making this thing, and not everyone got they didn't get a seat at the adult table.
Yeah, just looking at the bracket, I think it's almost perfect. I think it's almost exactly how I envisioned it once everything shook out on Saturday. Obviously, the thing that everybody and their mom is talking about is, Notre Dame being left out. And I was saying it going into it is like the fact that Notre Dame is ahead of Miami is crazy work. Like they played. They actually played on the field, and Miami won the football game. So they should be ahead of them. But what we all have to realize at some point is this is a made-for-TV product. This is made for TV. This is entertainment. This is not the NFL where it's a clear democracy. It's clearly, if you win your games, you're in. No matter if you win all your games 3-0, you win all your games 52-51. It don't matter. If you win your games, that's how it plays out. In the sport of college football, especially college football and all collegiate sports, it is a part merit-based situation. It is partially, hey, what have you done for me lately? It is not solely about what you accomplished on the football field or basketball court this season. There is an element of human element to it. There is no a clear-cut, dry, you win, you're in type of situation. So my aspect of it is, dang, Notre Dame got left out. Well, dang, Notre Dame shouldn't have lost.
Yep.
That's kind of like how I feel. I truly believe that they should be in over Alabama because other teams out there were penalized for losing their conference championship game. Ohio State moved back a spot because they lost. Indiana moved up a spot because they won. Georgia moved up because they won. To be perfectly honest, I thought Georgia should have been 2. Ohio State should have been 3. We've seen BYU completely fall out because they lost.
Yep. And
Alabama stays pat after they lost in embarrassing fashion. I think that it should have been Notre Dame in over Alabama, but either way, you're not going to get me crying about Notre Dame or Alabama if either of them was left out.
No, and I think that when it started coming out, Keith and I were doing the show over at Frickers in Troy yesterday, and I said it was interesting. No Texas, no Notre Dame, no Texas, no Notre Dame yet, and or with Alabama there too. But it was like, okay, they have a tough decision to make. Their backs are against the wall because they have to let you know, are we valuing conference championships or are we valuing competing in the non-conference? One of the narratives was going to come out that, oh man, something was going to go. Texas to me is a bigger. I think that they actually got punished more than Notre Dame.
Really?
I don't think Notre Dame has really a whole gripe. You don't have one top 15 win. The two teams that and they do have a good win against USC, but it doesn't carry a lot of weight. And at the end of the day, and Notre Dame fans are like, I swear it's low-hanging fruit to bring up that you're not in a conference, but you're not in a conference. And what this playoff field does tell you is that they value the conference championships. Now, you could say, well, they didn't because of BYU, but I don't think that conference championships are all equal, and it's not, because ESPN has this or that, the other. I think it's your body of work heading in. And when Ohio State was the number 1 team all season, and you lose by 1 possession, by a field goal, by 3 points in your conference championship against the number 2, now the number 1 team in the country, of course we're not going to punish you. Alabama, my problem is you didn't just lose, you got blown out, and 2 of your 3 losses are blowouts. That's my problem with why Alabama was untouched. But also they said, your resume, if you're not in the SEC championship game, your resume is already good enough to be in the playoffs. So we're not going to punish you for having to play an extra game. BYU, their metrics were horrible across the board. Not that they're a bad team, but this is a metric-based system. And BYU, so them losing and getting blown out in a bad conference as it is, that's why I think, I don't think it's all the same. Saying, they didn't value the conference championship at the Big 12. It's not a good conference. The conference isn't very good, so that doesn't help. Then you didn't just lose a close one. I think BYU, if they lose by a possession or 2 possessions, they're probably still in. You got beat 34-7.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't help. Texas, I think they're more of a victim than Notre Dame. I do think there's a lot of merit there to talk about what happens.
So you would have Texas in over Alabama?
I would have Texas in over Alabama. Really? I would have put Texas in over Alabama as far as
their resumes are very equal, very, very similar. Both of them have a horrible loss on their resume. Texas being that loss to Florida, Bama's being to Florida State. Both have horrible losses on there. Both have pretty good wins. Obviously, Alabama has the win at Georgia, and Texas has a win over Oklahoma.
Yep.
To have some other good
Texas
wins.
A&M.
I
mean, that's a huge one.
Yeah. So I like that. That's fair. That's fair. I wouldn't argue with you if you would have told me that if Texas was in there over Notre Dame. I just feel like Alabama shouldn't be in. Like
I'm with you. You got blown out.
You got blown out, man. Like I
Twice.
don't get that. So if it was up to Texas and Notre Dame, in breaking it down that way, I wouldn't have a problem with Texas being in over Notre Dame. But I definitely have a problem with Alabama being in the field because, like, we look at this sport, and regardless of how, you know what I'm saying, Booker McFarland tried to spin it and everything like that, talking about, you know, JMU and Tulane being in there. Well, realistically, they have no chance of winning it or whatever. Well, tell that to Butler when they made it to the Final Four back-to-back years. Tell that to, you know, the teams that do make deep runs. We all think that, you know, JMU and Tulane are going to lose in the first round. But guess what? That's why they play the game. But the simple fact that Alabama has a horrible loss in week 1 and got blew out in their conference championship game, and they didn't move at all. They just stayed pat, where other teams were penalized for losing, but other teams were rewarded for winning. Like, you rewarded Georgia for winning the conference championship. You rewarded Indiana. Yeah, great. And then, BYU, like, your metrics just don't work out. But, like, just they fell out completely. So they were punished. Regardless of how much they were punished in some type of way. Alabama was not punished at all, which is crazy to me. So the sooner we all realize that this is an invitational, the sooner we'll all be happy. Because the reality of the situation, and the powers that be know this, we ain't going nowhere. We can scream, we can cry, we can be upset about horrible referees, we can be mad about our team being left out. Guess what? We're going to be there next year, tapped in every single year. We can cry until the cows come home. The thing that moves the needle with us, and not just us in this country, just sports fans in general, is live sports. We love this thing called sports, and especially football. College football is built off of arguing. Because you know what happens in the NFL? There's no arguing. There's really no arguing unless it's bad calls. There's no, hey, my team's better than yours. Well, who do you play? Well, guess what? We're all in the NFL. There's only 32 teams. So your schedule is this. Well, you know, it all balance out in the end. Everybody in the NFL knows that. So the arguing isn't about what actually happens on the field. In college football, my conference is better than yours. It's the mighty SEC. God. No, it's the Big Ten. Oh, no, the ACC, they're not as bad as you think. It's constantly bickering and arguing. Oh, no, you guys bought a national championship. You guys cheated to win a national championship. That's what this sport is built off of. That's the livelihood. You can say the livelihood of college football is the recruiting. No, the livelihood of college football is arguing because there's no clear path. There used to be a day where, hey, we split national championships. And you, Washington and Michigan, you're the national champion. Oh, there's times that Alabama sports writers said, yeah, we're the national championship, and they crowned themselves the national champion. This whole sport is built off of bickering and arguing about who's better than who. And it just showed you itself when they had Miami behind Notre Dame and they actually beat them.
Yep.
Like, it's just that simple. So, like I said, I'm not mad at the bracket. I'm just like looking at Alabama like, hey, man, like you talk about with Cincinnati Bengals, you can't run the ball. Literally, Alabama cannot run the football. They had negative 27 rushing yards on Saturday. Kudos to Georgia for getting a dub over Alabama. But like, you got worked. You got handled in front of everybody. And you can't tell me if that was Vandy. Say that was Vandy in that spot. Vandy would be out. Mm-hmm. Bama is in because they're Alabama. If Vandy was in the SEC championship game, playing that game and sitting in the catbird seat like Alabama was, they lose that game, they're out because they're Vandy and not Alabama. So Alabama is in off of namesake, which is fine. That's how this sport works. I mean, I'll be the first one to say that I truly believe Ohio State made it to the college football playoff a couple times because off of namesake. I ain't had no problem with it. I'm a Buckeye fan. I'm going to take all the rub in the world I can get. But, like, the reality is that's how this sport is set up. And it's all good because guess what? It's all going to play out on the field eventually.
Yes. And I will say this. We're conditioned to also just discredit anything that Alabama and the SEC gets because of the bias. But I'm also If you look at Alabama, everyone focuses on for when the Florida State loss. That's a tough loss. I didn't think it was a bad loss. It was a bad loss, but initially, as Florida State started to roll, it's like, oh, they're going to be forgiven for that. Then Florida State fell off at the end, of course. But I'm going to say this: they lost to Georgia in the SEC championship game, but they beat Georgia earlier in the year.
Mm-hmm.
They beat a good Vanderbilt team. They beat a good Missouri team. They beat a top 25 Tennessee team. Like, they had 5 top 25 wins on the season. So to sit there and act like they've played nobody, they didn't, BYU didn't get the same treatment. I'm looking at BYU. They beat nobody. And they played Texas Tech, the only like contending team that they played, and they lost 29-7. They got blown out by them not once but twice. I don't feel bad for BYU because I think had they been competitive against Texas Tech, maybe they get a little bit of a rub. I don't know.
I know. I thought that was it was the only way BYU was going to make it in
was to win.
Yeah, and I thought that would have been fair. And I mean, then you have the flip side of the coin with a 7-5 Duke team winning the ACC, which basically opened this door for this chaos where you don't have the ACC conference champion in there. You have an ACC at large team in there, that being Miami. So that also opened the door. I have a problem with Alabama in there, but the bigger problem is you weren't penalized at all. Like, that makes no sense. Like, you're not penalized at all, where everybody else was penalized for losing and everybody else was rewarded for winning. Yeah. Like, you didn't even move down the line. Like, your punishment is going on the road. Like, but you were already going on the road because that's where you were slotted.
Yes. And by the way, I'm not even, again, remember I said I think Texas should be in over Alabama.
And I think that's fair. I like that.
But to say, but like, nobody else was punished. I don't think anyone is on the equal plane. Like, no one's starting that race from the same block. So like, them making a decision for Ohio State to drop to 2, Alabama loses theirs, they don't drop at all. I think the punishment is staying where they were at, only because, like, they've already played Georgia. You were in whether you played in this conference championship or not. BYU had to win theirs to get in. Notre Dame doesn't even play in one. Notre Dame, their schedule was not good. The USC win's a good win, but you're taking a USC. People want to bring up Alabama.
No, their schedule was good. They just lost to the good teams on it. They lost to Miami. They lost to Texas A&M.
There you go. Okay, yes, my bad. But the wins that they had weren't very sexy. Alabama had sexy wins, whether you guys want to admit it or not.
Yeah,
but it's for 3 losses. It's the 3 last year.
It's 3 losses, and I, to be perfectly honest, I didn't even think about Texas until you brought them up. And then you take a look at their resume, like if somebody would have told me Texas got that spot in, I actually would like that. And to be perfectly honest, thinking about it like this, if Texas was in that game, in that slot, they will be going to their biggest rival in Oklahoma. And Texas and Oklahoma don't play at each other's stadium. They play at a neutral site. So to have Texas on that field, that would be pretty cool. And I think that would get more people excited.
I didn't think of that. Yeah.
Than putting Alabama in. But we already know, man, it's Alabama. They get a little extra rub. It's cool, though. It's cool.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, 1410 ESPN Radio. Ann Anderson. Ann, hope you're well. Ann Anderson says, Notre Dame, get off your self-image and join a conference. Put your money where your mouth is. If you could do it for basketball, you could do it for football. And we're going to talk about Notre Dame coming up. Notre Dame, they're the biggest story coming out of Selection Sunday, of course. Some for the right reasons, some for not so much. We'll talk about that when we come back. Marcus Freeman, Dayton's own. I wish he coached anywhere else but Notre Dame because it's going to make it so much more painful for me to do what I'm about to do. But we'll be right back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, 1410 Wing AM.
discounts, or promotions. Prices may vary.
The Reds invented something new, wallet load management. They rest the bank account like the NBA rests its players. A Justin Kinner Show, right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Justin Kinner back with you here, 1410 ESPN Radio, 937-518-1410 for those watching along. There it is. The final 12-team college football playoff bracket. Ohio State, after losing to Indiana in the Big Ten championship game this past Saturday, they get the 2 seed. They don't have a big drop-off. They'll take on the winner between Miami and Texas A&M. So how about that? Ohio State does get a first-round bye. They did not get the bye last year. In fact, they had to play all 4 rounds of the playoff to go on to win the national championship. Will this year's national champion be one of the 4 teams that got a bye in Texas Tech, Indiana, Georgia, or Ohio State? Or will one of the other teams follow Ohio State's footing and have to win 4 games to win a national championship? We'll find out nonetheless. But I'm excited about this. I think this field brings a lot more entertaining matchups than a year ago. I think there's a lot more entertaining first-round matchups. I think that Texas A&M Miami game is going to be good. Oklahoma, Alabama, can't wait for that. The Tulane Ole Miss one, semi-interesting. I think there's the storyline of, okay, no Lane Kiffin, has this team kind of checked out minus Lane Kiffin. Tulane, I think, is actually solid. I think they're very solid. I think they have a better chance than James Madison to pull off an upset, if you will. But I think that's the one, a lot of good matchups in the first round at the end of the day.
It all comes down to the Miami Texas A&M game for me in the first round. Like that's high quality right there. The defensive matchup between Oklahoma and Bama. I mean, we saw what Coach Venables was able to scheme up versus Alabama in the last 2 matchups versus Alabama. Let's not forget that they won last year as well. I think we can expect more of the same. I can think the quarterback for Alabama is going to be confused, just like the last 2 times that they played. I got Oklahoma winning that game in a low-scoring matchup. But if removing my fandom, the first-round matchup I'm looking forward to the most is the U and Texas A&M, and I got the U winning that game.
You got so we're going to get a 2001 national championship rematch. I like it.
Yeah. Miami's defense is official, and I think Texas A&M has a good defense as well, but like they're prone for giving up big plays, and that's what Miami's offense is predicated on, big plays. So I got Miami winning over Texas A&M.
Yeah, and again, we'll the big thing coming out of the weekend was it was more about the teams that didn't make it than the teams that did. So I want to focus on the teams that did. We'll get to Notre Dame coming up here in just a moment. You look at the quarterfinal matchups, potentially. You could get Texas A&M or Texas Tech and Oregon, Indiana. You're saying Oklahoma, Georgia, Ole Miss, and Ohio State in the U, possibly. Those semifinals, I think, all kick ass compared to last year. But remember, last year it was different because the wrinkle was all conference champions got an auto bye right off the bat, and that set up some wonky. It forced the hand of some wonky first round matchups and made even weirder second round matchups. I think this is a healthier bracket than a year ago, just by making that one change. That conference champions don't get an auto bye. The first, the buys go to the top 4 seeds, and I think this makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, and I know we're talking this, so I want to give kudos to both James Madison and Tulane. Both of their coaches are moving on to different programs, but their administration, quote unquote, allowed them to coach them in their conference championship game, and of course also going to allow them to coach in the playoff as well. So I think that keeps those guys locked in and those teams locked in on the goal at hand. I mean, I think that Tulane has a better chance or better team than James Madison, but I think James Madison has a better chance of beating Oregon, if that makes sense. I think that everything going on at Ole Miss and the retention of a lot of the staff is going to have Ole Miss ready for this game. And obviously they already played Tulane earlier this year, beat them almost 50, I think the final score was. So I think it'll be a better matchup, but I think, hey man, watch out for James Madison. Not saying they're going to win, but I think they're going to keep it closer than a lot of people expect.
I also have a problem with Tulane and James Madison. This is where my elitist brain comes into play here, but I do think force feeding us that level of football is also a problem, whether people want to admit it or not. It has created a lot more. And to be fair, after the temper tantrums I saw thrown yesterday, I really don't want to do anything to appease programs like Notre Dame and others. But it is strange. I mean, they keep talking about the 12 best teams, 12 best teams. These can't be the 12 best teams when you're force feeding us that level, when we all know, theoretically, I mean, they're good teams. based on their level and based on what they have to. But is that going to change at some point, or is it just good? I mean, they're always going to be a part of this.
It's a tweak coming next year where Notre Dame is guaranteed a spot as long as they're ranked in the top 12. I know we're going to talk more Notre Dame here shortly. I actually like this because guess what? It's quote unquote not James Madison's fault. Because Tulane was going to get that spot because they want the highest non-automatic qualifier to get in there, so they're in the inclusion thing. But hey, man, don't be mad at James Madison because they handled their business. Be mad at Virginia for losing to Duke, because if Virginia would have beat Duke, they would have been in there. Like, so that's not on James Madison. Like, they played the cards they were dealt, and guess what? Oh, y'all left the door open. We'll gladly walk right through that door. Hey, Notre Dame, how you doing? We've made the college football playoff as well. You made it last year. We're making it this year. Because their gripe isn't with James Madison or Tulane. Yep. Their gripe should be with, Virginia. Their gripe should be with Alabama. Like, it's not at Tulane because guess what? We did what we're supposed to do. We won games.
Yep.
And all that could be rectified if you win games.
But I'd much rather see Oregon and, Texas and Ole Miss and Notre Dame. I think all of us would. But pull off an upset, because I'm not going to believe in any of this until I see an upset. We see upsets in March Madness. That's why I'm all for it. I don't mind that.
Yeah.
Until we see an upset here, we'll see. I mean, hell, we thought James Franklin could coach last year thanks to those. Not really. James Franklin could coach, but his coaching prowess ran its course at the end of the day. But
I think he's going to cook at Virginia Tech. I think he's going to cook.
I mean, he cooked at Penn State.
Yeah, true. True.
Is he going to surpass? Do you think he'll surpass at Virginia Tech or at Virginia what he did? Or wait,
Virginia Tech. Yeah. Yes.
Well, you think he'll do better at Virginia Tech than at Penn State? Because he didn't do bad.
Yes, absolutely. Because the competition level in the ACC is not the competition level in the Big Ten. There's a team and a half in the
Ohio
ACC.
State.
Yeah, there's no Ohio State. There's no cheating Michigan in there. I mean, so yeah, there's no Oregon in there. Like there's as mid as USC has been, there's still USC. There's still a good program. There's not that. Like, you have a floundering Florida State program. You have a team in Miami who still has never made the ACC championship game. I think never won the ACC championship. They made it into this year's college football playoff, but they've never won the conference championship. We've seen what's going on with Clemson. I mean, the ACC is up for grabs to anybody, and why wouldn't James Franklin be able to win it? Yeah,
and again, that's for next season. James, I mean, he's been unemployed for a few months and then got employed, and he's sitting pretty right now.
But look at that recruiting class.
On YouTube, Devin reaches out to the show. He says Bama should not be in with 3 losses. We talked about Bama, in the last part of the show. I always counter with this stuff because people are so quick to say who shouldn't be in. Well, then who should be in? Who should be in then? Like, okay, Alabama shouldn't be in. I countered earlier and said I agree. I'm not a fan of Bama being in. I believe that Texas should have been in over them if you're looking at 3-loss teams being equal. But I guess this is why I said the committee, they did give a lot of credit to the conference championship game. Texas wasn't in theirs. Alabama was. Alabama lost, but they lost in their conference championship game. So they gave more credence to that versus losing to Ohio State in the non-con. Notre Dame should be in. Well, again, the committee said we're valuing conference championships, and that's why, Notre Dame also, you're not getting in. You don't even play in a conference and this, that, and the other, which I have a humongous problem with that dumb.
Is that why they're not in? Is that what
I think it's one of the reasons.
I don't think that's why they're not in.
I think there's a lot of reasons why.
I think it's simply because you lost to Texas A&M or Miami. If you would have won one of those games, you would have been in.
No, that I agree with 100%. But it's not as simple as that. I think every decision the playoff committee makes, it's 2 or 3 reasons every time. And I think one of those bullet points
reasons change.
And they change. But I think one of the reasons why they're not in is because they don't play in a conference. I don't think, and people could say, well, so if they played in a conference, they would just still forgive them and let them in? Yes, because if you played in the Big Ten, that means, and you're 11-2, that means you played somebody, or 10-2, whatever that means you played somebody and you beat people. Ohio State's allowed to lose a game and not be, critically punished, as we saw last year. They lost to Oregon and Michigan, still got in the playoff. Why? Because although you may play poorly some games, they're going to have enough opportunities to make up for playing poorly later. Texas lost to Florida, but they also, Okay. They also beat Texas A&M. They also beat Georgia during the regular season. And that's the problem. Or not, sorry, they beat Texas A&M and Oklahoma. That's why they still had a shot. But yeah, it just, the Notre Dame thing. And that clause, by the way, I think is complete crap. I think that is complete crap. I am so over Notre Dame. Shaw yesterday, I said, as much as I despise Michigan and can't stand Michigan, I hate Notre Dame. I hate that program. I think that program, they are the most entitled bunch of brats in the entire universe of college athletics. The temper tantrum that they are throwing currently at this moment is absolutely embarrassing. I have a humongous problem with Notre Dame. That clause ticked me off when I came across it. Yes. So basically they're guaranteed, if they're ranked in the top 12, they are guaranteed a playoff spot no matter what. Yeah. Most teams who usually are ranked in the top 12, like if Ohio State's ranked 12th, they're in the playoff. I think that's a given. But like, why are we making specialty clauses for Notre Dame? Committee, if you want, I don't think that the playoff has clearly shown Notre Dame that we don't need you to have a playoff, or we don't need you to feel good about our playoff field. Why are you giving them special clauses? Their athletic director is an arrogant, just whatever, fill in the blank. I mean, the way I hear him talk on the Dan Patrick Show and these other shows, it's insane. I mean, what he said earlier, guys, this is a direct quote. Like, I can't believe he said this, for one, Kev. Then he would go on to say, embrace yourselves because we don't have the beat button. But he also cussed out the guy and said, it's unbelievable. And then on top of that, then Marcus Freeman, all right, when he's interviewed about this same exact thing, Marcus Freeman had the nerve to go on to say, yes. I mean, it's unbelievable. Marcus Freeman and their athletic director, they sound an awful lot alike. It's crazy. I thought it was the same person. And then I posted on my Facebook page yesterday about why I don't understand, like, Notre Dame. Why is them being left out controversial? Like, there was 5 posts that I came across, and when I read them, they all just, it was this. This is all Notre Dame fans today, right now. You don't have one win against anyone in the top 15. You played 2 good teams. You lost to both of them. You don't play in a conference, and the teams that you beat up on aren't very good outside of USC. And did I mention you have no wins inside the top 15? Notre Dame, stop it. You are not a victim. Oh, boo-hoo, the ACC, they really hurt our relationship because they were pushing for ACC teams to get in the playoff over us. You're not an ACC team, you cowards, because you won't join the ACC. You want the conference that you're not in, you want that conference to say, hey, Miami, who's actually an ACC team, they shouldn't be in. They're bums. But Notre Dame, who's not a part of our conference in football, we want them to get in. How delusional is that guy? I don't understand it. I can't stand this program. Get in a conference, you bums. You sit there and join conferences in every other sports because you need them for those sports. And I get that you don't financially need it here. Well, guess what? It kind of looks like you need it because all I'm hearing is this over and over. Oh, it's okay, you big old crybaby. Join a conference. It's that simple. It's really that simple. Now, could I guarantee that they would be in if they were in a conference? Yeah, I actually will go out on a limb and say yes. I think that if they're in the Big Ten, that they're in the playoff this year if they only have 2 losses. All right, but I'm telling you, I'm looking at what Indiana does now. I'm looking at what Oregon does now. I'm looking at, obviously, Ohio State, this, that, and the other. Like, life's simpler being in a conference. If Indiana could do it. If you don't know much about Indiana, Google them. Google it. Because the one thing that Signetti's not doing is this. The one thing, I went to the Big Ten Championship game. I tell you what, their fans, kind of a good time. I had a blast with Indiana fans. I was pissed that my team was losing, but I had a blast with them. Hoosiers? Hoosiers? I had a blast with them. I was like, this is kind of catchy. I'm not going to lie. I hate your team for right now because you're beating our team, but I'll take that over this. Notre Dame, kick rocks. All right? I don't feel bad for you. Marcus Freeman, you're from here. I want to like you. I really, really do. Leave Notre Dame, please. Take an NFL job, okay? Take an NFL job. Something. Just get out of Notre Dame. But I don't care that you're from Dayton. And you don't know who I am because I'm a no-name boob on an AM radio station. Which is why I could say this confidently because it probably won't get to him. But enough of this. You have crybaby. Oh, we're not going to play in our bowl game because we did the college football playoff. They took an opportunity away from us. So what do? You then turn around and you take an opportunity from your seniors to play one more game. You take an opportunity from your underclassmen to get how many more weeks of practice, opportunities out on the football field to prepare yourself so you could actually beat the good teams next year so your asses aren't at home watching the playoff like Justin Kinner in Dayton, Ohio. You crybabies, you bombs, get a grip. Get in a conference. Beat the teams you should. Something, Kev, I'm over it. I'm over it. Let me guess. You're not as aggressive on Notre Dame as I am.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm definitely not. But my biggest thing is turning down the bowl game. Obviously not for your seniors. Like the Jeremiah Loves and those guys like that. They should not be playing in a bowl game like this because they got, bigger fish to fry, get ready for the NFL and stuff like that. But there's a lot of guys on your team that are returning. And it's an opportunity for them to get more practice and for them to get better as football players. So I think that is a missed opportunity for Coach Freeman and a lot of other teams that turned down bowls. I believe Kansas State turned down a bowl. Yep. It was so bad that they started reaching out to 5-win teams because people that don't know, you have to win 6 games to be bowl eligible. Then 5-win teams are like, nah, man, we've hired a whole new coaching staff, or we're already hitting the recruiting trail and trying to team up and get portal guys. So I understand those teams that weren't expected to make or weren't bowl eligible to say no thank you. But for a team that is bowl eligible to turn it down, you're missing an opportunity, in my opinion, to get better. Not only your guys to get better, but you to get better as a coach and to see what you got going into next year. Because guess what? You play this bowl on December 12th or whatever. Guess what? When the portal opens, like, hey, all right, Jimmy, he ain't going to cut it at DB this year. We need to go ahead and jump in the portal and see who's available to grab. So that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, the bowl game. And again, what are you proving by opting out? Now, here's what I will say. I made the joke about Marcus Freeman leaving. Maybe they know something we don't. Maybe, Marcus Freeman is about to announce that he's leaving to take an NFL job. Maybe. It's very unlikely. He's been very adamant that he is not leaving to take a college job, to be fair, like the Penn State and others, that he was adamant he wasn't taking any other college job. Maybe he is. I still don't think he's leaving Notre Dame, though. I think it's too good of a job.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe a horrible job, apparently. But no,
but this isn't the first time Notre Dame has opted out of bowl. I remember, I believe it was like when Jimmy Clausen was the quarterback there. Yep. They opted out of a bowl as well. So like this is standard protocol for Notre Dame. When they don't get what they want, they say we're taking our ball and go home.
Yeah,
I didn't say that. I said they're taking their ball and going home. And that's what they're doing. They're going home. They're staying home and watching the playoff just like everybody else.
I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash. If you can't hear us, that's fine. It's just, I'm sure, just like us, there's a lot of Notre Dame fans in our lives. There's probably less Notre Dame fans listening to this show right now. But I want to give them a voice. And this, there you go. We'll be right back. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio.
Jamar Chase spits on players. Kinner spits hot takes. It's the Justin Kinner Show, weekdays at 3 p.m. right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show on 1410 ESPN Radio and on the stream at wingam.com.
And we are back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN Radio. Kev Nash hanging out with us for a few more minutes, of course. But yeah, don't worry. I don't have any more audio. Maybe. Just look, it is what it is. Notre Dame.
Oh, come on, man. Cut him some slack. Stall him out.
I'm not cutting any Notre Dame fan any because they're always the first one. Oh, yeah, they're always so cocky and so arrogant and all this stuff. And then when they get humbled like this, I'm not going to lie. I enjoy it. You're just jealous. I'm not jealous. My team has whooped up on your team for how many years? My team actually wins big games. My team actually wins national championships. It is what it is. Who'd they lose to last year? Southern Illinois or whatever it was?
Northern Illinois.
Oh, Northern. Sorry. I get my directions mixed up. My bad. But, is what it is. You should have opted out of that game. There you go. Crybabies, all of them. All right. We welcome you back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, 1410 ESPN Radio. So, Ryan, no, we'll get back into the Alabama stuff in a moment. I know a lot of people are still this is the hatred. It's the hatred for Alabama. It's really what it's coming down to. You guys just hate Alabama. That's all. That's fine. You just hate Alabama. You hate that they're in because it's Alabama. Alabama, they have enough reasons to be in there. You could list the reasons why they shouldn't be in. It's not like their resume is complete garbage. It's actually a very good resume. 5 top 25 wins. They beat really, really good teams. The team they just lost to in the SEC championship, they actually beat them in the regular season. This isn't like they've played a bunch of nobodies and they're just getting love. They deserve to be in the conversation. I still said I would have taken Texas, but I'm not gonna sit here and act like they have absolutely 0%. They should not be in under no circumstances. There were circumstances, and those circumstances played out as far as that goes, in my opinion. But Ohio State over the weekend. Got to go. I've never been. I realized I was going to Indy. Never been to an indoor game.
Oh, okay.
Like NFL, anything. Every NFL game I've been to, a college game, it's been outside.
Burr.
But man, no escalators though. Escalators were going up. My wallet was going down. I was like, oh man, you would think with that money we'd be, it is what it is. But no, I thought Indiana fans were cool. I got along with them. Oh, we had a lot of Indiana fans around us. A lot of Indiana fans there. Had a great time. Had a good time. A couple of them wanted to get a little mouthy, and I'm like,
yeah.
But you're winning. Do your thing. Enjoy it. I wasn't there to ruin their time. Besides, I can't fight. So that's the most important thing. No, Ohio State, Indiana, how surprised are you that they lost? Because I'm here to tell you, it's taken me a while. I'm officially warmed up to Indiana. I'm all in on Indiana now. Not all in as in I think they're the best team in the country, even though they are the number one team. They did just beat Ohio State. They looked the part, man. Defensively, they ran the football. They stopped the football. They forced turnovers. They passed the hell out of the football against a very good passing defense. And I love Cignetti. I went from disliking to like, because you can act like he does if you win. He's going to be unbearable when he starts losing. But for right now, I think he's the best story in college football. Are you surprised that Ohio State?
Yes, I'm surprised Ohio State lost. Absolutely surprised. I didn't think it was going to be like a blowout or anything like that, but I thought Ohio State will win and do what they normally do, probably win by double digits and would be undefeated heading to the playoff, number 1 seed, playing at the Rose Bowl, yada, yada, yada. But first off, you got to give credit to Indiana. The better team won that day. They confused Julian Saint. That's why, like in the second half, all right, man, we're not about to just let you drop back and try to read the defense. We're going to roll the pocket and shorten some of these reads and stuff like that. And they did their job between the 20s, running the ball and passing the ball. It was when, they got inside the 5-yard line, just could not punch it in, especially in the second half. So credit goes to Indiana. But just like most things that I always talk about is there's so many facets to sports. It's obviously the offense, defense, special teams, and football, but there's also those good old guys that call penalties or don't call penalties. Not saying Ohio State would have won, but holding on third down conversions is a thing. Kenyatta Jackson got held on 2 third down conversions. Would have loved to see the laundry come out on one of those or both of them. But Ohio State, you had your opportunities to put the game away. You did not do that. And Coach Day said that in the press conference. Like, they brought up the holding. To Coach Day's credit, he's like, hey, had nothing to do with that. We got inside the red zone, supposed to score touchdowns. We didn't. That's on us. That's on us as players and coaches. So kudos to Coach Day for not, you know what I'm saying, boo-hooing like us fans normally do. But I will say, we have a refereeing problem in sports. We saw it in the NFL multiple times yesterday. We saw it in the Big 10 championship game yesterday. We've seen it time in and time again with these referees. And I always send out the text, these referees. So I'll say that, but Indiana won the game.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Backhanded compliments. Listen.
That's not a backhanded compliment. They won.
Has lost 2 games in 2 years. And every time they do get a quality win, it's always met with some kind of resistance. I'm here to tell you, they were the better team. They deserve to win that game. And that's all I really have for Indiana. They beat Michigan last year, and what everyone said, well, Michigan, they rebuild. They lost Harbaugh. They're the fallout, so they didn't get credit for that. Right. They beat Oregon this year. Well, it's not last year's Oregon team.
No, they whooped up on Oregon.
They beat
Oregon.
They beat Penn State. Obviously, it still had all the NFL talent on the defensive side of the ball. They still have the NFL running backs. Like, every time Indiana does something, it's met with some kind of pushback. I'm here to tell you, Mendoza, it's not like he looked great for 4 quarters. No, but when those lights got the brightest, he way outperformed Julian Sayin. Ohio State's great defense had no answer for Mendoza down the stretch, and their wide receivers, one of their top guys was out. This, that, the other. And Ohio State didn't get called for a lot of penalties either. Bad officiating goes both ways. And at the end of the day, we see teams who, in the moments, get like, oh, they've never been here before, and then teams look like it. To Indiana's credit, under Cignetti, they've never looked like. I mean, outside of the Notre Dame, Ohio State last year, but that was different because they were physically. But he filled all those holes in the offseason.
Well, a lot of those guys are back too. A lot of those guys are back that were on the team last year, so they're returning and obviously filling holes with Mendoza. And I mean, let's just be clear, he threw some dots. Yep. That slot fade that he threw for the touchdown, and then the third down over Jermaine Matthews. Those are dots because he's inside his jersey. Like, people are talking like, oh man, he got cooked. Like, well, he didn't get cooked. He's there in coverage. It's just a perfect pass. And you got to give him a ton of credit for a perfect pass. And obviously the receivers for catching it. They won. They the Big 10 champions, fair and square. And they the number 1 seed. I'm hoping and praying to see them in the Natty.
I am too. Don't force me to root against Ohio State just to prove that Indiana is a real deal. Like, all the excuses. I saw, the Buckeye fan media making excuses. They were going through a lot this week because, they were losing their wide receiver.
I don't want to hear that. I definitely don't want to hear that.
When I heard that,
you can miss me with that.
Well, they were losing their wide receivers coach, and that's why they lost Indiana. I mean, that's good. It took me. I almost forgot how bad Buckeye media fanboys could be, but that's where we were going with that. I'm like, I'm out on that. But good stuff. I know you got to bounce. We got to bounce too. We got to pay some bills. 937-518-1410, the number to call and jump in on the conversation. We're also live on the Justin Kinder Show Facebook page, ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel. We'll be right back.
Get a great deal on select Kubota construction equipment featuring
BetOnline.com/JOY.
Thank you for calling Michigan Tech Support. For stolen signs, press 1. For mysteriously dropped headset communications, press 2. For a cheating scandal that Michigan hasn't been caught for yet, press 3. You know what? Please hold. The Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio.
Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show, right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
And we are back. Justin Kinner with you here on a Monday. I hope everyone had a great weekend. 4:05 here in the Miami Valley. Ohio State, they lose over the weekend. Like I said, we talked a lot. Kev was with us in the first hour, but we talked a lot about Notre Dame, this and the other. I'm over Notre Dame. I'm very annoyed with. We all know everything with them is about the money, the money, the money. And anyone that we know in our lives that is all about the money, the money, the money, and they have the money, the money, the money, they usually are entitled fill in the blanks most of the time. And that's Notre Dame. They are used to getting their way on everything. They have always gotten their way. Guys, I think it's a problem that they're coming out and throwing the ACC under the bus. This is how delusional rich people, or not rich people, I own some, but this is how delusional Notre Dame is. They're actually doing this. I think that the damage it's unrepairable between them and the ACC, because the ACC was coming out with pro ACC propaganda and not supporting Notre Dame's resume. And I'm thinking, well, hold on. If this was March Madness, they would support you. If this was softball or baseball or whatever other sport that you have the guts to go, join a conference with, they would, because you're a part of the ACC. So you don't want to be a part of the ACC, but you want ACC treatment. If I'm the ACC, I tell you to kiss my ASS. I mean, that is absolutely stupid of them, the athletic director, to come out and say that. I mean, give me a break, guys. You do, even if you're a Notre Dame fan, will you agree that is absolutely ridiculous? That you won't join the ACC to play football, but you want that conference, to basically come out and support you with propaganda to help push them into the playoff? Why would they do that? Especially when this time it's you versus Miami, that the resumes are fighting and clashing. Why would they bury their own team in Miami for a pseudo team in you that it's only, you're only there to, when it's convenient? You don't get to have a couple one-night stands with all ACC and then get upset because, they won't, they won't marry you. I don't get it. I do not understand the mindset of a rich, entitled, spoiled, pain-in-the-ass brat of a program in the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And any fan out there, I saw Brady Quinn's crybaby ass out there doing this whole, the ESPN should be ashamed and embarrassed. Embarrassed of what? They put Alabama in. I'm not a fan of Alabama being in either. But can some of you who actually follow this actually convince me that Alabama's resume isn't good? Alabama has 5 top 25 wins. Alabama beat the team that they already lost to in the SEC championship game, but they won enough games in a conference. You guys hate the SEC, but it is the best conference in college football. It is, whether you like it or not. And the likelihood of you accruing losses when you play in the best conference in college football, the likelihood's a lot higher than when you piecemeal your schedule together with a bunch of weak ACC teams, and then the good teams that you did put on the schedule you lost to. It's a little bit more difficult. It is. And I'm not just trying to stir the pot. I said it in the first hour. I actually, not only do I don't think Alabama technically should have been in, because I had a problem with with 2 of the 3 losses being blowouts. That's my problem. The team that I think got screwed over the most was not Notre Dame. In fact, I don't even think Notre Dame got screwed over. I think that the most controversial team that was left out is Notre Dame in the eyes of most of you, but I don't think that's controversial at all. I think Texas being left out is the bigger controversy. They beat Oklahoma, who's in the playoff. They beat Texas A&M, who's in the playoff. They had a 1-possession loss, against Ohio State, who's the number 2 seed in this playoff. And they challenged themselves in the non-conference. I think that they got hosed. All right. Because they actually play in a conference, unlike Notre Dame, who has nothing but out-of-conference games because they don't have the guts to join a conference. I'm here to tell you, if you are a Notre Dame fan, you don't know what you're talking about. If you think Notre Dame should have been in, you still don't know what you're talking about. If you just want them in because you hate Alabama, I'll give you that. I'll say, okay, at least that's your reasoning. It's wrong, but, whatever. Alabama deserves to be in the playoff more than Notre Dame. Texas deserves to be in the playoff more than Alabama and Notre Dame. Simple as that. I have no problem with Notre Dame being left out. I'm not losing sleep over Alabama being in. I do have a problem with Texas not being in. Simple as that. Overall, I love this playoff field. I think it's way better field than last year. So it is what it is. But I want to go to some of these comments and see what's going on. So I got to comb through these. I didn't see, but nonetheless. So Andrew John says that ESPN orchestrated the whole thing with Notre Dame being left out. ESPN has the ACC and the SEC under contract for games. Notre Dame and Miami deserve to be in over Bama. I would have even taken BYU over Bama. Andrew, respectfully, based on what? Based on what? BYU, I mean, I'm not trying to be like know-it-all here, but like BYU, they lost to the Big 12 champion not once but twice, and they didn't just lose to the Big 12 champion not once but twice. They got blown out by the Big 12 champion not once but twice. They beaten nobody. Like, this is the committee telling you, like, this is why the committee was trying to find a way to send a message. They wanted to send a message to teams that it's important that you play somebody, and it's also important to play and win and be in your conference championship. Play, win, be in your conference championship. Now, BYU was in theirs, but they lost to that conference champion not once but twice, and they also beat nobody. Portland State, Stanford, East Carolina. They beat Colorado by 3, by the way. Okay, they beat TCU. They beat Cincinnati. I mean, Cincinnati's 7-5. Okay, they beat Iowa State, who's 8-4. They beat Arizona, who's 9-3. Okay, that's an okay win, but you're bringing a spoon to a knife fight. If your argument is we beat Arizona, you're not. What do you want me to say to that? Utah, that was a solid win, 10-2. I'll give them that, but once again, they're a fringe top 25 team. That's what I mean. I totally disagree with you, Andrew, to say that BYU deserved to be in over Alabama. BYU did not deserve to be in over Alabama. Notre Dame and Miami did not. I mean, Miami is in. Miami is a very, very good team. Miami, you're right. They do deserve to be in, and they're in. Notre Dame does not deserve to be in. You can't give me one good reason why Notre Dame should be in. In fact, if you have one, I would love to hear it. 937-518-1410. But here's the rule, and it's my show with my name in it, so I get to make the rules. The rule is you got to call and tell me why Notre Dame should be in the playoff, and you're not allowed to use the word Alabama. You're not allowed to use that because that's what everyone keeps doing. Why should Notre Dame be in? Alabama. No. This isn't about Alabama. Alabama has 5 top 25 wins, by the way. Okay, let's not act like Alabama didn't beat anybody this season. The Georgia, who just won the SEC, they beat Georgia in the regular season. Alabama's good. They're fine to be in. I don't like the 3 losses. I don't like that they have 2 blowouts, but they have enough wins to balance it out. Plus, they were in the conference championship. This isn't about Alabama. Notre Dame, what did they do to be in? That's what I want to know. Because nobody seems to have a good argument for that. No one seems to have any real good reason why Notre Dame should be in outside of why you think another team should be out. I mean, Notre Dame, you played Miami, Texas A&M, you lost to both. You beat Purdue. You beat Arkansas. You beat Boise, NC State, Boston College, Navy. I mean, you did put 70 points up on Syracuse, but it is Syracuse. I mean, what are we doing? What exactly did you do? No wins over anyone in the top 15. The only 2 good teams you played, you lost to. You don't play in a conference, so you didn't get to a conference championship. Again, you guys could hate me all you want, but you hate me because I bring up good points. Notre Dame has done absolutely 0 to deserve to be in the playoff. And you know I'm right. And if you think I'm wrong, call in. You're not allowed to use the name Alabama. Notre Dame should be in the playoff because why? Not because so-and-so shouldn't be in and they should be in. I want to know what they did to be in. Because you could say, well, Alabama has 3 losses. Yeah, but they also have 5 top 25 wins. Okay? Like that matters. That matters as far as that goes. Well, Miami shouldn't be in. Well, Miami beat you. What do you mean Miami shouldn't be in? If it was all things, if it is coming down to being that close, Miami, they beat you. Miami's 10-2. Miami, they should be in. If all things, you know what I mean? If you're going to talk about the head-to-head, they got that. Your record's the same. All things, you know what I mean? It's like, so yeah, I could tell you why Miami's in. I could tell you why Alabama's in. I could tell you why Ohio State, Indiana, Georgia. I could tell you why all these teams are in. I'm here to tell you that if Notre Dame did make it in, I would be like, yeah, I don't know why they're in. There's no real reason. What metric do you have to justify them being in? You don't have one, respectfully. You just don't. You're just a Fighting Irish fanboy or fangirl, and that's totally fine. You're allowed to be, but you have no real reason why they should be in. It's as simple as that. 937-518-1410. But, yeah, this has been Notre Dame fans all day yesterday, all day today. It's been insufferable. It's been insufferable. And what they've done is they have ruined it because we should be talking about, if I'm Indiana, I'm furious that Notre Dame took all the attention away from us. Indiana had the best season in the history of their program. Indiana is the actual good team in their state. Indiana is the number 1 team in the country. They just beat Ohio State, something that Notre Dame, how was Notre Dame done against Ohio State? And instead, you have their athletic director doing this. Marcus Freeman, love you, former Buckeye. You're from the area, but I'm really tired of hearing Marcus Freeman do this. Pathetic. Notre Dame is pathetic. They've ruined the playoff because they didn't make it, and now they're throwing a temper tantrum. They're opting out of a bowl game. Michigan's playing in their bowl game. Texas is playing in theirs. Texas, they could have been ticked off. They could have been upset, and they are, but they're adults. They're going to play. You think a few years ago when Ohio State, missed the playoff, they had lost to Michigan for the 3rd straight time. Ryan Day, everyone wanted Ryan Day fired. What did they do? They knew that they were probably going to get beat going to play Missouri in the bowl game. Ohio State, the respected a national champion in today's era, in a modern era. They decided we're not too good for a bowl game because it's all about going out there to get better. But Notre Dame, no. We're just fine. Luck of the Irish and the attitude of a 12-year-old girl. It's pathetic. Notre Dame, really. All right, I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Ohio State, I saw so much. I forgot how fun Buckeye fans are when things don't go our way, too. Like, everyone, complaining about Ryan Day's play calling and blaming officiating, that's that Buckeye fan base that I grew up missing and loving. I'm here to tell you, Buckeye fans, you need to grow up a little bit. Not everything's going to go your way. Okay, not everything's going to go your way, and I think we got a little spoiled on those 16 straight wins. 16 straight wins. Wins over top 25 Tennessee. Win over the number 1 team in the country in Oregon on their coast. You go and you beat Texas. You beat Notre Dame. Yes, that Notre Dame. Notre Dame, the bunch of crybabies. That Notre Dame. In the national championship. You beat Texas again in week 1. All right, you go on the road. You beat Washington. All right, you kick the ass of, obviously, Penn State. You beat that team up north at the Big House. Dominated. Absolutely dominated for 16 straight games. Won a national championship in the mix. And then you get to the Big Ten championship, and you lose to the number 2 team in the country by 1 possession in their territory, and Buckeye fans acting like a bunch of children over the weekend. I'm here to tell you, there is no shame in losing to the number 2 team in the country in your conference championship game. You don't have to like Ryan Day's play calling. He's better than you, and he knows more than you. He knows more than me. You don't have to agree with every decision that was made. I didn't. I didn't care. We've been spoiled. And the fact that we wanted heads to roll because they lost to the number 1 or number 2, now number 1 team in the country, I'm okay. I'm not okay with the loss, but Indiana's good. And I thought it was very immature of Buckeye fans to then spend the rest of the weekend discrediting Indiana. Here's the deal. It's not embarrassing to look. I know we grew up and we've been conditioned to look down on Indiana. This isn't that Indiana. This is a good Indiana. They have an NFL quarterback, NFL wide receivers, great offensive line. They could run the football, and that defense is phenomenal. No defense since Texas made Ohio State's offense look as irrelevant as what they did over the weekend. Ryan Day's play calling, as you guys criticized, didn't help. But I think a lot of the plays that they called, they're the same plays that they called that dominated the competition for the previous 16 games. You just ran into a really, really good team for once. It's fine. Ohio State, they're still winning a national championship. And I pray and I hope that they run into Indiana again in the national championship. How phenomenal, how cool would that be? But they got the work cut out for them. Ohio State, a potential showdown with Texas A&M or Miami. Ohio State would then have to beat Georgia, and then Ohio State could potentially run into Indiana, maybe Oregon, Alabama. They had to beat last year Tennessee, Oregon, Texas, and Notre Dame to win a national championship. If it's chalk, they would have to beat Texas A&M, Georgia, and Indiana. 2 SEC teams. Okay, Georgia finished number 3 in the final rankings, and Texas A&M spent, 90% of the rankings sitting in the top 3? And then the number 1 team in the country. Back-to-back years where they've had an absolute brutal draw. And I don't feel bad for them because we saw last year that not only could they win out through their brutal draw, but they had to win 4 tough games. Now they just got to win 3. I'm fine with the draw. I'm fine with Ohio State. I was a little bummed with them losing the game, of course, but I'm like, all right, well, that's fine. You know, you did all your work throughout the regular season so you could afford a loss like that. You know, this isn't the 14 playoff where you had to be perfect to make it. Ohio State, 12-team playoff. You beat Texas in the non-con. You beat Michigan at the Big House. You beat up on Penn State. You did all your work in the regular season so you could afford a loss like that, and they weren't even really punished. The only thing I was bummed about is they're not playing in the Rose Bowl. I wanted to go to the Rose Bowl again. But they just need to win so I can go to the Fiesta Bowl. That's all I care about. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show. I know Mo and Eric and Dave. I know you 3 are on hold. And Shaw's on hold as well. I'm going to get to your calls right away. I appreciate the calls. My bad. I ramble and then get away from the point. But the bottom line is it's okay to be upset that your team lost, but it's Ohio State. They're the number 2 team in the country. To me, still the best team in the country. They're the defending national champions, and they're going to be just fine. I don't like to do the whole Indiana wanted it more, but I do believe Indiana, this is the best season in decades and decades and decades. And they just had Ohio State in their state at Lucas Oil Stadium with the Big Ten championship on the line and a chance to get the number 1 seed. Yeah, I do believe that they wanted it more. And they got it. Good for them. Ohio State's going to be just fine. Kirk Herbstreit's right. A good chunk of you are part of the lunatic fringe. Work on it, but keep your passion. We'll be right back.
candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
The Justin Kinner Show, right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
427 here in the Miami Valley. I'm Justin Kinner, the Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Just talking about the fact that, yes, it's unfortunate. Ohio State did lose to Indiana. I'm not thrilled, but there's no shame in losing to the number 2 team in the country, and now the number 1 team in the country. Ryan Day is arguably the best coach in college football right now. And the amount of fans that were just being obnoxious on social media, just blowing him up. I'm like, oh, that's the Buckeye fan base that I, love and miss. The irrationals, as far as that goes. Like, play calling wasn't great, but that's because a lot of the decision-making, it was the same plays that they called all season. They just played a good team. And you've heard me say on this show all season, I'm a Buckeye fan. I'm not a Buckeye homer. And their schedule sucked this year. I don't think they were really, truly tested. I mean, you had Texas week 1. All right. Washington was way worse than I thought. Penn State was bad. They fired their coach 4 weeks in. That was what a horrendous, season they had. I mean, Michigan was the best team they played outside of Texas, and Michigan was just an average team, and Ohio State mauled them. They played the number 2 team in the country. Of course, the plays didn't look as crisp as what they did against the bad teams. I don't know. I get it. Rick's on Facebook. He's on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. And he said, yes, but us OSU fans had every right to criticize the play calling against Indiana, particularly in the red zone. I've seen many sports analysts talk about it too. Indiana's tough to score on in the red zone. And I get it that there's, and he said that I've seen many sports analysts talk about it too. Yes, I know you follow a lot of Buckeye fanboy media guys. Of course, they're going to do that. Like, look, the bottom line is, what plays would you have called then? What plays would you have called? What play calls what play would have worked? Throw it to Jeremiah Smith. They tried that. They defended him very, very well. Yeah, well, they shouldn't have gone for it. Ryan Day, they go for it on 4th down all the time. The one time they went for it on 4th down, didn't get it. Can't believe. Just take the points. What's wrong with them? The confidence of Ohio State has been their biggest friend for the last year, especially during those 16 straight wins. And every time you go for it on 4th, it's always a bad decision. But it always feels great when you convert on it, and it's never a good feeling when you don't. I have no clue what we're upset about here. We're mad at Ryan Day because, he had a little bit of an off game. He just coached the team through the toughest stretch to ever win. I mean, again, wins over Tennessee, Oregon, Texas, Notre Dame, Texas again. And then to run the table through the regular season and then to lose by a possession against the number 2 team, now number 1 team in the country, and people are mad at Ryan Day. Ryan Day's just fine. Jeremy Birmingham, him and Austin over there with the fan in Columbus. And of course they do a great job covering. They were weighing in on Ohio State and their struggles this past week. And I respect the heck out of those guys. I just vehemently disagree with their take on what led to Ohio State's struggles against Indiana. Take a listen.
And you don't want to start diving into the bag of excuses, but there's no way these last 3 or 4 days for Ohio State, we're not an absolute chaos factory. Aside from the Brian Hartline stuff on Wednesday, then all the Chris Henry stuff, Penn State coming after Matt Patricia this week. There was a lot of stuff going on, and I just don't think Ohio State was prepared.
Ohio State, if you really don't think that they were prepared, I'm here to tell you it had nothing to do with your wide receivers coach being taken away to Central Florida or South Florida, wherever the hell he went. I'm here to tell you, by the way, I don't think this is the case. I disagree with him. But if Ohio State can't handle their wide receivers coach being poached, I don't know what to tell you. That's a bad look. So I disagree with that. Indiana's good. The number 2 team in the country. You were playing them in Indiana. Lucas Oil Stadium. 60,000 people. It's probably, I'd say about 35, 40, 20 Indiana. Meant way more to them than Ohio State. I highly doubt that. Oh, man. So you mean to tell me that field goal goes in if South Florida doesn't take Brian Hartline? Oh, man, maybe we convert on that fourth down if only we didn't have to spend an extra hour this week getting on the phone to tell a spoiled commit to get his stuff together and figure it out. What are we doing? Stop making excuses. And I love when people do that. Well, I don't want to make an excuse, but here's the excuse anyways. Stop it. Ohio State lost, and it wasn't because of Brian Hartline. It wasn't because of, having to go back in and get on the phone with the committee. You think Indiana wasn't having their coaches talking to other teams for potential jobs? You think that their recruiting class wasn't, on the up to the very last second, their doors being knocked on by other teams? Like, are you sure? Are you sure? It's the Ohio State. They lost fair and square. Fair and square. It wasn't because of officiating. It wasn't because Brian Hartline. We got to stop with this. Rick goes back and says, run the ball on 3rd and 1 on the last drive for one. Okay, run the ball, and then they run the ball, and they don't get it, and then what? Are you going to say, good job, Ryan Day, good effort? No, you'll find something else to complain about. Why would he run it to that side? Why not run it to this side? Oh, why don't you go to your best player, to Jeremiah Smith, when the game's on the line like that? Like, God, come on. You guys are the lunatic fringe for a reason. You're not rational when you think. Like, yes, they were running the ball well that day, but Indiana's they're really good at stopping the run. Ohio State was better at stopping their own run. I get it. It wasn't the best play calling, but, like, what are we doing? Even in wins, you do realize that there's sometimes really not the best play calls, even in wins. There's no one that's perfect at calling plays, period. It just looks easier when you're up by 40 every single game. Shaw says, play the crybaby drop for the Buckeye fans. No. Ohio State fans aren't crying. They're just irrational. It is what it is. But let's go to Mo. Mo, appreciate you waiting on hold, sir. Thank you. You're on live.
Thanks for having me on, Justin. No, that was bonehead from Day not to run the ball on 4th and 1. I'm sorry, but he's a good enough coach to know that. Just field position and everything, you have to go for it. You're running the ball. They were running the ball great. Mm-hmm. And he decided all of a sudden to stop running the ball because he does this on championship games in the Big Ten. He did it with Michigan. He did it with Indiana. And he has a tendency to not open up the playbook and not have faith in his team at times when things are tight. He decides to play not to lose rather than to win. So I think
I disagree on that. Like, you bring up the Michigan game. He got criticized in the Michigan game because he wouldn't pass, and it was too run heavy. And now, people get mad when he doesn't run the football, or when he runs the football, and then people get mad when he doesn't run the football. I get it. Just win. If you win, no one cares about the play calling at this point. But they lost, so we're going to nitpick a lot of stuff. But yeah, they convert. They're a very good team on 4th down as well, and they don't always run it on 4th down when they've converted a lot of those as well. So I'm not even saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, like, I think we're being a little nitpicky here as far as that goes. Like, Ohio State converts on those more times than not. They just didn't that night.
Well, the detail was that they were running the ball really well on that drive. Mm-hmm. That's the detail. The detail was they had 2 chances, and instead of running the ball on the 3rd and 4th, they tried to pass it in. That didn't work. They had tried that play the previous set of downs on the left side. Yep. It didn't work. So then they come back. You still have a chance to crack it with a run, and you decide to go for a field goal that only ties the game and gives Indiana the ball in better position to do what? Only have to kick a field goal to win the game. So, again, Indiana is for real. Yep. You're right about that. They deserve the win, but Day has to take his credit as the head coach. He's calling that. He made that call. When that call works, he should get the credit. When it doesn't, he should eat it. And that's why a lot of Buckeye fans are upset. I do think Indiana deserved the win. They outplayed the Buckeyes in that game, but I do think Ohio State is the best team in the country. And it wouldn't surprise me if they win another championship. And if they play Indiana a second time, I think they'll beat them by 10 to 14 points. I really do. I think if they face them again, they'll open up the playbook. He'll play to win. He'll say the heck with it, and he'll do what they did last year.
That's the hope. And I see a lot of people pointing out and Mo, a lot of people pointing out that, last year they lost their final game before the playoff 13-10, and that worked out pretty well. They lost 13-10 in the Big Ten championship. Maybe they do the same thing that they did last year. They're good enough to do it. They should win this national championship as far as that goes. But, they're running into good teams now. They're not playing the bad Big Ten. They're playing the best of the best right now, as far as that goes. Unfortunately, they couldn't get Notre Dame, but they actually have to play good teams now,
well, about Notre Dame, okay. I'm not a Notre Dame fan. I'm a Buckeye fan.
Yep.
But hey, let's be real. Notre Dame is one of the top 12 teams in the nation. They deserve to be in the 12-team playoff. It is not a requirement to be in the conference to play in the 12-team playoff.
TCU's on line 2.
They were in the playoff last year, and who did Ohio State have to play for the championship? It was Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
So, those are the points I bring up. Alabama should also have been in. I have a problem with the Tulane and teams like that.
Oh, me and you are on the same page. They're not they're ruining this field more than anything, because it really becomes, Mo, it's a 10-team playoff field, because we got to do everybody gets a trophy. We got to make everyone feel included in this. And I disagree with this 100%. Tulane should not be in. James Madison should not be in. They are very, very good teams, but they're not, what we're talking about here. There's very good MAC teams. They're not in the playoff. That's not how this works. So I'm with you 100% on that. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the whole point of the 12-team playoff, is the best 12 teams in the country and playing to see who is the best team in the country. And they ruined it this year. I mean, they just cannot do that and bring in teams that nobody thinks has any chance of winning a championship. So,
yep.
Anyway, that's all I've got. But thank you for having me on,
Mo. Anytime. I appreciate you. Thank you. All right, good stuff. I appreciate Mo calling. 937-518-1410. Yeah, man. No, I like Mo. I disagree with him a little bit about the Notre Dame thing. I think Notre Dame for sure is one of the 12 best teams based on what? What did they do? What did Notre Dame do to prove that they are one of the 12 best teams in the country? No wins against the top 15. Okay. The only 2 teams they did play, they lost to. I don't know. Let's go to Ryan. Ryan, you're on live, sir. I just put you straight on. How are you, sir?
Oh, good. How you doing?
Not
this
too
is
bad.
Ryan from Dayton.
Perfect. What's up, man? What you got?
Oh, like you said, give credit to Indiana. They played a heck of a game. They deserve to win. But as a diehard Buckeye fan, it's frustrating because we made a year of making C.J. Donaldson the short down back. He didn't see a single carry. We have the Keen Holes package that we ran through part of the year. Didn't see a single carry on those short yard downs. Missed field goals. Yes, Indiana deserved to win the game, but when you beat yourself like that, it is frustrating as a fan.
You know what? One thing I'm going to give you that I actually did not think about, and it's I should have. They did, I made the mistake of saying, well, hey, those same plays that worked during the regular season and the 16 straight wins, they just didn't work out this time. But it did seem, to your credit, they did go away from a lot of the stuff that did put them in those positions. You're right. The Keen Holes, they didn't go to that. The Donaldson and the short yardage situations, and I'm curious, maybe I always discredited Brian Hartline's play calling ability, but was he making those decisions in the past and Ryan Day just wasn't now, or was Ryan, or what I mean? That's
why are we using those plays against UCLA and Rutgers and not in up to this point in the biggest game of the year?
Or maybe they're confident that they can get those plays done during those teams and wasn't confident in Donaldson against this. I mean, who knows? But I'm not going to let this one game discredit the previous 16 that included top 5 wins, top 10 wins in the national championship. But I just don't like it. I don't like having this uneasiness heading into the playoff when there was so much confidence. This is why I don't like conference championship games. I just don't.
Agree.
They're necessary evils. Or not necessary, whatever. But you have to do them, unfortunately, at this point. So who knows?
Can't win them all. So get better to get the loss out now than New Year's Eve.
There you go. That would be a bummer, I tell you. But hey,
right,
Ryan, I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Thanks for taking the call.
937-518-1410. Jacob Fightmaster on the Justin Kinder Show Facebook page says Notre Dame should join a conference. No sympathy for him. Oh, Jacob, I could tell you're late to the program today, which is totally fine. We're on the same page. I agree 100%. I agree 1,000,000,000%. Join a conference. Join a conference. You know, and like that's the thing too that drives me nuts about Notre Dame. They won't join a conference, but they're kind of doing this like friends with benefits thing with the ACC. They get to sleep with the ACC. They get to go out and have fun, you know. But when it comes time for commitment, Notre Dame's like, oh, no. No, I don't want that. I don't want that. But then when it's convenient, then Notre Dame all of a sudden is a little upset that they're not in a relationship. Here's the problem I have with that too, okay? Notre Dame, you could have partnered up with the Big Ten. You could have partnered up with the SEC, but you partnered up with the weak-ass ACC. To where you give them your services basically a lot, where you're playing a lot. You're playing a lot of ACC teams, bad ACC teams. And then the one good ACC team you did play, you lost to. You know, if you really want to show the committee that you're trying to join a conference but not be a part of one, why don't you be a part of a good one instead of the ACC? This is why I don't respect Notre Dame. They're trying to take all these shortcuts so that they don't, they don't ever want to have to play that extra game. And then we're going to piecemeal our schedule together, but we're going to pick a bunch of bad teams from the, one of the worst conferences in the ACC. Why don't you put a predominant Big Ten schedule together? That's not Purdue. That's not Iowa. Why don't you actually play some more good teams from those, because this is why I'm defending Alabama. Alabama, I don't think should be in because 2 of the 3 losses were blowouts. However, they are in because of what they did do. You guys keep acting like Alabama didn't do anything. 5 top 25 wins. Good wins, including a win against Georgia. I'm not going to sit here and act like they didn't do anything. I think that's just being delusional. If you think Alabama didn't do anything to deserve to be in, you're clearly just an SEC hater, and that's fine. You could be that, but don't tell me Alabama did nothing to be in. Okay, Vanderbilt was supposed to be the SEC's Indiana. They beat Vanderbilt. They beat Missouri. Missouri was very good all season. They beat Missouri. Okay. They won. They didn't just beat Georgia. They won at Georgia. And to their credit, they put Florida State on the schedule. And you could say, well, Florida State was horrible. They put that thing on the schedule years ago. They put it on the schedule when Florida State was a legit program at the time. So I'm not going to sit here and act like Alabama didn't do anything. They won at Georgia. They beat Tennessee, beat Missouri, beat Vanderbilt. Okay. They played at Florida State. They lost, but they had the guts to go on the road to play at Florida State. So you're going to miss me with that. They won. All right. They did what they were supposed to put them in position to make it. So is what it is. 937-518-1410. Let me see how much time I got here because I've been rambling a lot. I got a little bit of time. Let's go to Shaw. Shaw, thanks for holding. You're on live, sir.
How you doing, man?
Oh, another day in paradise. You're not gonna you're not gonna sound like this, are you? You're not gonna call in and cry, are you? Oh man. Just making sure.
What do I have to cry about? My team's been home for 2 weeks.
I just thought, your team's. I thought you were still upset about your team cheating to win the national championship 2 years ago. I just wanted to remind you of that. That's all.
Yeah. You tend to do that quite a bit.
I do, but you were probably calling in to agree with me. I think you agree with me on some of this stuff. So why should I get in the way of that? Yeah.
I completely agree with you. For now and forever, moving forward, the team from South Bend will be known as Notre Lame, not Notre Dame. You sit there and you claim that you're for the team and play like a champion and all of this other crap that you spew on nonsense, and you try to think that you're holier than thou across college football. And yeah, you didn't get your way, even though you played one of those teams that you lost to at home. So you're supposed to have an advantage there, and you lost it. And then you played another team that was actually worth a darn, and you lost to them too. And you didn't really play anybody but service academies the rest of the year. But somehow you're supposed to be in the playoff. And then you want to go home and cry in your Wheaties because you didn't get your way. All the while you have a freshman quarterback and other freshmen, sophomores that could really benefit from bowl practices and the bowl prep and just more playing football, getting ready to play football for next year. But no, that didn't mean anything. The juniors and seniors that aren't going to go to the NFL, but they're playing basically for the love of the game or the love of quote unquote Notre Dame, as you will, they didn't matter because they none of that matters. It's just your crybaby mentality and your crybaby attitude is more important than actually caring about the players of your program. That also being said, I will, as much as it makes me throw up, I'll defend maybe the fan base a little bit here because the committee did have Notre Dame ahead of Miami all year long. Well, for every one of their rankings until literally Tuesday. So, I mean, that part of it doesn't make any sense. How does Miami jump them when they're both sitting at home? I guess Miami must have practiced a whole hell of a lot better than what Notre Dame did. So that doesn't really make sense to me. Just none of it really does make sense, especially when you sit here and you want to take college football at their word, and we're going to do the best thing for college football, and we're here for college football. But then you sit back and you realize it's not a true playoff. It's an invitation. It's based on, you and Kev taught me this a couple years ago. It's not what the quote unquote best team is. It's what the best resume is. The teams are walking across into a beauty contest, and that's all it is. It's a beauty contest. It doesn't matter here or there. You'll have a little chances to see like Miami beating Notre Dame. That ultimately does matter, but it took however many weeks for it to matter. Before that, it didn't matter when they were ranked 18 and Notre Dame's ahead of them. But that's the stuff that frustrates me, where the committee just pulls stuff out of their rear end just to say that, hey, we're going to show you some rankings and we're going to show you that it really does matter, when all the while we know it really doesn't. They claim that they're not SEC biased, but explain to me. I understand Alabama has 5 quality wins in the SEC. I understand that. But explain to me why losing in the championship by 21 or losing in a championship by whatever they lost to Texas Tech, what's the difference?
Because BYU is not even on the same field. Like Alabama had enough work in the regular season to give them that little leeway. BYU played nobody all season. So BYU really had no reason to be in outside of the total wins that they had. And then the 2 good teams that they played, they got obliterated by, and it was the Big 12 champion. I don't think we could put those on the same starting block. They weren't starting from the same starting block in that race because Alabama had a much larger head start because of the wins. Remember, and this is me not defending Alabama, but saying at the same time, acknowledging them and BYU, just because they both lost. Like everyone keeps saying this, well, they both lost to their conference champion. One got helped, one didn't. It's not just about that. It's the body of work heading into those conference championship games. Some had a little bit more rope than others. Alabama had a lot more rope, but Alabama gave themselves that rope by getting all those wins, including beating Georgia earlier in the season. BYU they also had a rematch in their Big 12 championship game, and they got their ass kicked both times.
I completely agree with literally everything you just said. I'm just bringing up the point that I'm tired of the committee saying one thing and then out of the other side of their mouth, they're saying something completely different. They want to show that the conference championship games, they matter and yada, yada, yada. But then to the basic, and I'm not being offensive here, but just like the college football fan that doesn't put as much work into you, Kev, and me, and some of these other people that sit here and they watch all the games and they pay attention to it and they understand the true what's going on here. But to the novice just sitting there looking at it when the rankings come out last night, well, how does a 3-loss team not make it, but a 2-loss team who made it to the conference championship? And they said that making it to a conference championship means something, but then you have a team making it with 3 losses, but one that had 2 losses going home. That's the whole thing. Like, it's just,
but it's about the body of work as a whole. It's not just
100%.
About conference championships, but not every conference championship attendee has the same resume heading in. If that's the case, you might as well just have a conference championship game to kick off the season and just base it off that. Again, BYU and Alabama, just because they're both in their conference championship game, it doesn't mean that they're going to be weighted the same. Like,
I agree.
So that's the reason why I'm not defending the committee, because the committee's full of crap. I think the worst thing about the playoff rankings is those 4-week shows leading into it. because if those shows don't exist and the rankings come out, you're still going to get the temper tantrum of all temper tantrums, thrown by everyone's rich, bratty, spoiled Notre Dame fans out there. But outside of that, everyone else pretty realistic. Texas is complaining the way that they should. We are not happy with the committee's decision. We are very frustrated, but you know what? We can't wait to get out there to practice and to have a chance to end our season with a win. I don't care for Sharon Moore, but he came out and he said the same thing about preparing for their bowl game. It's an opportunity to still get extra practice time, to still be out there with the guys, and a chance to end the season with the victory and go out that way and take momentum into the offseason. That's how you do it. That's how you handle it right there.
I'll be honest, Justin. That's the part of it that as looking at Notre Dame fans, that's the part of it that I don't understand the most. Like, they're defending it. Like, well, yeah.
Brady Quinn and all those guys, like Mike Golick. I'm afraid of Mike Golick Jr. I'm going to have him on, but I said, I'm going to let you calm down for at least a week before I have you on, because I can't be as cocky with him as what I am right now. I don't think I'm going to use the crying baby soundbite for Mike Golick Jr. or Mike Golick.
I would suggest not, but hey, you do you. It's like, you never know. But that's the part of it that I just don't understand the most. Like, I understand I don't get it, but I can at least give you leeway for the gripe of not making the playoff. But defending the fact of not playing in a bowl game when you have all the young players to develop and everything else like that, and you're just going to take that away. And then on top of, you're the program that sits there and rubs it in everybody's face that you're independent. And one of the main reasons why you're independent is you don't have to share that bowl money with any other teams in a conference. You get it all to yourself. Well, this year, you ain't getting none of it because you want to go home and cry about it. I don't know. The whole thing it's nuts. And I disagree with you that this bracket's better than last year's bracket.
Oh, what?
When you have JMU and Tulane in the bracket, that automatically means it's not better than last year's.
Last year had bad teams in it too.
Yeah, but not Tulane and JMU. Ole Miss and Oregon have buys to the quarterfinal. Like they just do, and that to me is not better than what it was last year. Yeah, you had blowouts, but at least the teams were somewhat respectable rolling into those games. Like what's going to be happening in next weekend? That's nonsense. At least Notre Dame and not Notre Dame, but at least Alabama and Oklahoma. At least that's a good game, and at least Miami, Texas A&M is a good game. Or else that weekend would be garbage. But
no, it has to be better because last year, is Tulane and like last year you have Boise, who had a Boise had a bye. Boise had a bye last year. All right, SMU was in the playoff last year. You had Arizona State with the bye week. That's why this bracket this year is better. There's always going to be those little questionable teams that make it in the end because we got to, everyone gets a participation trophy. That's always going to happen. But the matchups are better and it's consistently set up, I think, for good matchups each round. Yes, those two teams ruin it, yes, but there's always going to be those types of teams in there. The fact this has been laid out way better. The first round matchups are way better. The quarterfinal matchups, everything. I just think this was a much better setup. Still tweaking that needs done. Still tweaking.
Oh, 100%. If you really take out JMU and then put Notre Dame in, then I'm fine with it. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, and we'll come. Let's play ball in the quarterfinal. We'll move on. But I know you got to go. Go blue.
I am not. Damn it! You did get the go blue in there. Ugh, every time. Go blue and you're hook 'em horns, baby. Hook 'em. All right, good stuff. Let's see. We're going to take a few-minute break. We're going to wrap up this hour when we come back. Big update on the Bengals. Big update. One update on a player on the offensive side of the ball and a big update on a player on the defensive side of the ball. Yes, the Bengals technically have a defense. They don't have a defense, but it is a player from that side of the ball, I guess. We'll get to that next.
Are you like everybody else in the world who has no idea what to get everyone for the holidays? Well, you're in luck. We got you. Hands-free Skechers slip-ins. Because with hands-free Skechers slip-ins, you just step into them and they're on. There's no bending down, no touching.
Justin Kinner back with you here, 1410 ESPN Radio, the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun food, sports, and spirits. Thought this was interesting. The Bengals lose yesterday to the Buffalo Bills. Joe Burrow, 2 interceptions and a lost fumble on an extra 2-point conversion attempt. Can't get it done. Josh Allen. I mean, look, in that showdown, Josh Allen outperformed over Joe Burrow yesterday. Josh Allen proved why he was the MVP quarterback last year. Joe Burrow, very skilled, but he's no Josh Allen, and we saw that yesterday, no doubt. The Bengals desperately have needed help on the defensive side of the ball, and they're not going to get any more help for the remaining games by Trey Hendrickson. So ESPN's Adam Schefter about an hour ago said that Bengals defensive end Trey Hendrickson is set to undergo core muscle surgery. He's expected to be sidelined for approximately 6 weeks. I don't think I think his time in Cincinnati is done, or at least his time is done in Cincinnati this year. It'll be interesting to see, if the Bengals do franchise tag him again next year. If they put the tag on him again. We've seen how ugly the offseason has gotten the last couple of years. So we'll see what ultimately happens. Either way. But Paul Dehner Jr. also tweeted out a little bit ago that the Cincinnati Bengals are releasing Jermaine Burton, according to Zach Taylor. I'll be shocked. I can't believe it didn't work out. I mean, there were no signs out there at all that this was going to be a problem. Oh, wait, yeah, there were. There were a lot of signs. I said this at the beginning. When Jermaine Burton, he played for Kirby Smart and Nick Saban in college, had attitude problems with both, and had issues at both. But the Bengals said, you know what? Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, he couldn't figure it out. Nick Saban, what the hell does that old bag of bones know? You know who will figure it out? Joe Burrow. Zach Taylor. Didn't work. They always got to be the smartest guy in the room. Joe Burrow, he doesn't cure cancer. Joe Burrow does not stop world hunger. Joe Burrow does not walk on water. And Zach Taylor sure as hell was not going to be a guy. Everyone always does this. Joe Burrow's going to come back and everything's going to be fine. It's not fine. It's not fine. Joe Burrow couldn't get this guy wrangled in. Zach Taylor couldn't do it. The Bengals should have never put him in position to do that in the first place. This is a bad look for the Bengals who just outright cut him. By the way, kid's super talented. Was a first-round caliber talent that dropped in the draft because of an attitude. And there are organizations out there who can maybe mold that a bit. The Bengals aren't a molding franchise. Well, they are a franchise that has mold on it, but I mean, they're not going to mold a talent. Are you kidding me? This was a disaster from the very beginning. And I don't feel bad for this kid. This kid was super talented in college, and he had such a prime opportunity to be drafted by the Bengals to go play in that offense. In an offense with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Jermaine Burton had when the Bengals drafted him, I was concerned as a Browns fan because the kid could play. And I'm like, man, he's going to play, and he's going to play a lot because all the defensive attention is going to be on Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. This kid's going to eat, and he's going to feast, and he's going to dominate. And, they released him. He couldn't figure out. If you can't play with Joe Burrow, if you can't play in an offense that passes 65% of the time, if you can't play on a field that has Jamar Chase and T. Higgins on it when you would just eat, I don't feel bad for you. You want to talk about a missed opportunity? This kid deserves to never get another down in the NFL again. This is why I got so annoyed when people were like, well, hold on, you got to give him time to mature. No. We're all adults. All right? It's sink or swim. And this kid, he's been thinking for a while. All right? And I don't feel bad for him. And I don't feel bad for the Bengals. Think of all the holes that this team has on their roster. And they've all wasted it on picks like Eric All. What's the red flag about Eric All? Well, he's had a lot of injuries in college. I'd be concerned about that. Oh, no. We'll be fine. Eric All. Been out for season since then. Injured all the time. Mims, same thing. The question marks. He's been okay, but again, question mark. You look at your first-round draft pick this year. Jamar Stewart, absolute nightmare disaster of a draft pick. Oh, no, he'll be fine. What's his red flag? Well, he's very, very big, but doesn't have a lot of production, and we question his motor. And what's been the problem in Cincinnati? Doesn't play a lot of games. He doesn't get to the quarterback. He's very, very big, and there's a lot of questions about his motor. maybe the Bengals, I know they only have 5 people in that room, but maybe they should pay attention to these red flags. I think it matters. What was the red flag for Jermaine Burton? Attitude issues. You know, he doesn't apply himself. And you had an attitude. I mean, if Nick Saban couldn't get this kid to buy in, what the hell made you think that Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor would? Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor definitely not Nick Saban. Not even close as far as that. The Bengals lose yesterday. And it appears, I mean, look, the Steelers, I can't figure out. The Steelers are 7-6. Okay, and they're sitting atop the AFC North. The Ravens lose to the Steelers. The Baltimore Ravens are now 6-7. The Bengals, who were 4-8, had a chance to get to 5-8. Yesterday, it's unfortunate that they go down and they lose the way that they did against Buffalo, because they would have been, 2 games out of first place with 4 games to go, and you would have the Cardinals and the Dolphins and the Browns in 3 of the final 4. You have a very bad. The Ravens are bad. Lamar and the Ravens are bad. The Bengals will probably win 3 of the last 4. And I'm not joking with that defense and the way that Shador looked yesterday. I actually think the Browns are, with the defense of the Browns will beat Cincinnati in that final week. If the Browns have average quarterback play with that defense, the Bengals will have a shot. Period. So the Bengals are, they're going to finish at about 6 wins on the season. They'll beat Baltimore, get to 5 wins. They'll beat the Cardinals. I don't think they beat Miami. Miami is very good offensively. I think they're going to lose to the Dolphins and Browns in 2 of the final 4 games. But they're not winning this division. That means for 3 straight years, this Bengals team, with Joe Burrow on this roster, are going to miss the playoffs. That is insane. You can make fun of my Browns all you want, but the Browns have actually made the playoffs more recently than the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Browns are been years since they made the playoffs. That's how bad it is in Cincinnati. But no, I mean, I got into an argument with a lot of Bengals fans because everyone was adamant, Joe Burrow's back, we have a shot. And I kept questioning. I said, with all due respect, Joe Burrow coming back does what? What issue does Joe Burrow coming back exactly address that makes you feel like this team is going to be better with his return? Because Joe Burrow yesterday completed 25 of 36 pass attempts for 284 yards and 4 touchdowns. Now, the 4 touchdowns, that's very impressive. All right. But he turned the ball over 3 times yesterday. And I was told, well, Joe Flacco, because I said Joe Flacco averaged 200, just a hair under 270-something passing yards a game. He averaged 2.5 touchdowns a game. The offense was the number 1 offense in the NFL when Joe Flacco was the quarterback for the Bengals. And everyone said, yeah, but he turns the ball over. He's no Joe Burrow. And he's not. He's not Joe Burrow. But Joe Burrow is not this Joe Burrow figure that you paint him out to be. I mean, he's not an MVP quarterback. All right. His biggest win was losing the Super Bowl. All right. Joe Burrow did not, like I said, cure cancer. He did not solve world hunger. He does not walk on water. And he is sitting as the quarterback of a team that is 4-9 on this team. Joe Burrow coming back did not fix this team. Joe Flacco was playing that position exactly at the level of which the Bengals needed to be. That defense is back. And then the defense looks okay against the Ravens, and everyone said, yeah, Joe Burrow's back, and he just inspires people. So what, was he not inspiring yesterday? Or was it the fact that you played a bad Ravens offense, and, look what happened when you actually played a good quarterback in Josh Allen and the Bills? So that's where I'm at with that as far as the Bengals go. Man, I said it before, the worst thing that can happen is if the Bengals start winning games because that front office would get lazy. This isn't a bad thing. The Bengals losing games is not a terrible thing. Because this has to get their attention. Joe Burrow, by the way, 2 interceptions, not good. The lost fumble on the 2-point conversion attempt, not good. But 284 yards and 4 touchdowns, you should win a football game. You should win that football game. But you guys are numb to that. You're numb to your quarterback putting up big numbers and losing. You're numb to it. And that's the problem. But that's a good, to me, this has to get the front office's attention. For 2 straight years, your quarterback has put up stupid numbers and has nothing to show for it. And that's going to be the case down the stretch. I actually got to experience yesterday what it's like to be a Bengals fan. How about Shador Sanders yesterday? I got to experience what it's like to be a Bengals fan, to have your offense play lights out and your defense give up 30 points and lose a football game. How about Shador yesterday? completed 23 of 42 passes for 364 yards. He threw for 3 touchdowns, 4 total touchdowns as he ran one in. Shedeur looked like a dude here. The Browns might have done this. And I've said this before. The worst thing that can happen, if we're talking interstate teams right now, Bengals, Browns, is Shedeur Joe Burrow? No. But the Browns are a better complete package than the Bengals. And if they ever get the quarterback right, look out. Because the Browns next year, if this is the case, if Shedeur is the guy, and it does look like he's going to be the guy, the Browns have 2 first-round picks. Think about the draft the Browns just drafted. The Browns, that means the only draft pick that is not going to work out, and still can say it is, Dylan Gabriel is a backup quarterback. But the Browns didn't miss on 1 pick last year. It arguably is the best draft in the last decade. When you think about what they have done, think about it. You have drafted your starting quarterback, who's really good at short. You drafted 2 really good running backs in Sampson and Quinshon Judkins. You drafted, Harold Fannin Jr., who is phenomenal, your team's leading receiver, and he was phenomenal yesterday as well. Harold Fannin Jr., 8 catches, 114 yards, and a touchdown. All right, you drafted Schlesinger, who's going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. And you drafted Mason Graham, who has just been phenomenal, on that defensive line. There's only 1 pick that has you scratching your head, and that's Dylan Gabriel. The Browns, Shedeur's the guy. If Shedeur's the guy moving forward, and it looks like he's going to be. Those throws yesterday, the plays he made, I don't care that it's the Titans, because that's the other thing that people are doing. They're trying to discredit it and think, oh, it's the Titans, it's the Titans, it's the Titans. Whatever. Jake, Cincinnati Jake on Twitter says, bro, Kinner, love you, bro. Not a bro. Too much, bro. We got to stop with the bro. Why do we always say bro? What up, bro? But Jake, what up, bro? Jake, I like it. But Jake says, bro, love you, bro. But you're talking out of your ass saying that Burrow isn't an MVP level quarterback. When did I say he's not an MVP level quarterback? I said he is not an MVP quarterback. The dude hasn't won an MVP. What are you talking about? The dude hasn't made the playoffs in 3 years. He started every game for them last year, missed the playoffs. He started a lot of games for him this year, going to miss the playoffs. You don't need to get sensitive. Come on, Jake. Come on, bro. Come on. We don't need to get upset. Nonetheless. We're going to talk more about this Browns and Bengals stuff tomorrow. Jason Pitt will join us. But yeah, the Browns have their quarterback. And if the Browns get their quarterback, they leapfrog the Bengals in this. If Shedeur is the guy, and I hate that this is the most Bengals-Browns thing ever, talking about next year, but if Shedeur really is the guy with the money of ownership and that defense, the Browns will surpass the Bengals moving forward if they finally have their quarterback. Because they'll have a run game, they'll have a defense, and they'll finally have their quarterback. And the Bengals have their quarterback and their wide receiver. They don't have an offensive line. They don't have a run game. They don't have a defense. I don't think it's that much of a hot take. Have a good night, everybody. Until tomorrow, it's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. I want to send you out with a quote. This is a quote from Marcus Freeman. This is a quote from the athletic department at Notre Dame. Notre Dame very upset that they missed the playoff. And Marcus Freeman and their athletic director, along with all the Notre Dame fans, released a statement earlier today. Take a look.